Someone who cares about hope and justice and love for other people is Chris George, and he's here this morning to tell us about the situation with refugees in our country and in Connecticut especially. So Chris, thank you for being here as the Executive Director of IRIS, Integrated Refugee and Immigration Services. Thank you. Woo.
Great. Can you hear me? Yes. All right, so my mic is all right? Well, you guys can't hear me. Can you hear me? All right. No. Mic would be great. You mind? All right. So while I'm doing that, I think I've been here like 10 years. Coming every year around this time to thank you for your support. I told you about my background, that I grew up in Montclair, New Jersey. I was a Peace Corps volunteer, worked overseas for about 20 years, and then came back to Connecticut. How's that? Is that good? I've been working in refugee resettlement. I told you I spent a lot of time in refugee camps. I was blown away by the hospitality and the generosity that refugees who had so little and had been so traumatized showed me when I would visit them in camps in South Lebanon and in southeastern Turkey and Somalia and other places around the world. I've explained to you the definition of a refugee, but I'll review that really quickly now. And keep in mind how it is more specific than that much larger category of immigrants, which is anyone who's come from another country to the United States. A refugee is someone who has been forced to flee their home country because of persecution. Either they've been persecuted or they have a well-founded fear of persecution. Persecution because of their race, their religion, their nationality, the particular social group they're in, or their political opinion. There are 23 million refugees in the world today. Last time I was here, last year, we did something that was kind of interactive, a little bit of role play. I walked you through the overseas Department of Homeland Security vetting process that refugees go through. I pulled people out of the audience. You played the part of a typical Syrian family. So now you all know that the vetting process is the most rigorous in the world. It takes like 2 years. The FBI is involved, the CIA, international databases of criminals and terrorists are checked, fingerprints, biometrics. The refugees who come here have been thoroughly vetted. So what I thought I would do, oh my gosh, I don't want to spill this. There's no water in it yet. Good. What I thought I would do today is answer some of your questions. And you're probably thinking, I didn't have a chance to write down a question. Well, I'm going to pretend that you wrote down questions. I know that there are some Johnny Carson fans. Remember Karnak the Magnificent? He would put that envelope to his head. Yeah. All right, so question number 1. Excellent question. How has the drop in refugee arrivals and cuts in federal funding to the refugee program affected IRIS? Good question. Well, refugee resettlement agencies around the country are suffering. Some are laying off staff, some are probably going to have to close down. We will not, partly because we have great support from you all. The number of refugee arrivals has dropped dramatically. The US government used to invite about 80,000 refugees a year. Invite. Now, you notice the verb I use. I don't say we allow. No, we invite refugees. They are the only immigrant that is invited to come to the United States. We used to invite about 80,000 a year. We were supposed to bring 110,000 in 2017, but that dropped immediately to 52,000 in 2017. This year it has dropped to about 20,000 refugees, and next year it'll probably also be only about 20,000. How has that affected IRIS, one of the 200 or so refugee resettlement agencies? And you know we're based in New Haven. Well, we used to resettle, we used to welcome about 10 families a month. Now we're welcoming only about 2 families a month. But we still need help. And what we've done is we have altered our program a little bit. Instead of that stressful, rapid-paced, sometimes frantic process of getting a notice that a refugee is arriving in 2 weeks, finding an apartment, furnishing it with donated furniture, a lot of which was donated by you all, stocking the kitchen with food, meeting the family at the airport, enrolling the kids in school, helping them learn English, helping them find a job, connecting them to health care, and doing that as quickly as we can because we don't have that much money, and doing that 10 times a month. Instead of that, we are stepping back and we're saying, you know, refugees who have been here a year or two, they still need quite a lot of help. The kids need help in school. We should have an expanded summer school program. We should develop an after-school program. We should provide more in-school tutoring. We should help kids think about college. So we're doing that now. In fact, Trinity has donated to the summer learning program. You're all invited to come and visit it, or maybe even teach in it. You're a teacher, aren't you? Next question. Are refugees documented? Are they legal? Of course. Refugees are the most documented immigrant in the country. They arrive with all the documents necessary to start work immediately. They apply for their Social Security cards. They get it within a week or two. A year after they've been here, they apply for their green cards, legal permanent status, and then after they've been here 5 years, they apply for citizenship. And they become naturalized U.S. citizens. Next question. Okay. Now we're getting into some tough ones. What about these families separated at the border? Are they refugees? And are you helping them? There's always going to be a controversial question from Trinity. The families that are separated at the border are in a way informal refugees, but they haven't been given that official designation. They haven't been designated refugees either by the United Nations or by the US government. They have to demonstrate that they meet that definition. You remember the definition? No, close. That they have a well-founded fear of persecution. So they are seeking refugee status, and what we say in this country is they're seeking asylum. They're fleeing horrible gang violence, political persecution, or in some cases, extreme domestic violence in a country that does not protect them. So they're seeking asylum. Are we helping them? Well, there were 2 kids who were separated from their parents at the border, and they were placed at a shelter in Groton. Yale Law School sued the federal government. The federal government brought the parents together with those kids. They're in Connecticut. Yale asked us if we could help them roughly the same way we help refugees, and we said sure. So we'll be helping these families while they wait for their cases to be adjudicated in a federal court. Good question. Some say the refugee program costs too much, and refugees are a drag on the economy. Are they? Well, studies have shown that yes, there is an initial investment in refugees. The federal government gives every refugee $1,000, a one-time grant of $1,000 when they arrive, and says, okay, here's your $1,000, welcome to America. There's that, and then there are other programs that are federally funded. But studies have shown that refugees since 1980 have contributed $63 billion to the U.S. economy. They have contributed much, much more than we have put into the program. Another good question. With so many Americans in need, why are we spending any money at all on people from another country? Why don't we focus on helping Americans? We all know that's a false choice. We can do both. It's not one or the other. Of course we have to help Americans in need. In fact, Trinity demonstrates the fact that you can do both. I've heard announcements about your ministries helping people who were born in this country who are a little down on their luck and need a helping hand. And at the same time, we can have a strong foreign policy that welcomes refugees to this country. Some think refugees are a security threat, especially Syrians. Are they? Well, we'd have to, again, review that 20-minute presentation that I gave last year about the vetting process. The most rigorous vetting process in the world. It is by far the hardest way for anyone to get into this country. So again, we can do both. We can protect ourselves and we can live up to those great American and some would say Christian values of welcoming the stranger. Why have you been doing this for 13 years? Good question. I've got the best job in the world. I wake up every morning and I say I'm going to work to welcome persecuted people from all over the world and help them get off to a new start in this great country. Doesn't get better than that. It's the Statue of Liberty in action. It is what makes this country great. It's what makes all of us, including you, proud. Thank you for your support.